The fight between two of the biggest alpha titans in the monsterverse has been hotly debated in the past, and the 2021 film didn't give any definitive answers. Much like Batman vs. Superman and Captain America Civil War, the two warring factions will team up to fight the third party and leave the audience to speculation. I know many people will have an inherent bias toward Godzilla, especially since he can harness the Earth's radioactivity and use it to shoot fire. But with the 2021 adaptation of the fight, King Kong has gotten some pretty big upgrades, which gives him an equal footing heading into this match. So, let's settle once and for all who deserves the title of King of the Monsters. Godzilla is the biggest he has ever been in a live-action adaptation, weighing in at 90,000 tons with a height of 393 feet. Like a Komodo dragon, he has an armor-plated exterior that could deflect or at least absorb damage from a melee attack. The plates crisscross in a Kevlar-like structure to reinforce his body against projectiles and would provide a strong defense against penetration from teeth. With spiky dorsal plates lining his back and extending from his neck all the way down to the apex of his tail, an attack from above or a headlock would be impossible without the aggressor shredding himself to bits. In case of close quarters encounters, he can always resort to his claws or his teeth. The bite force from this reptile could easily reach forces amounting to 12,000 pounds per square inch, enough to rip through even Goliaths like Kong in half. But Godzilla seldom uses his teeth or claws because no monster gets close enough to him on account of his 300-foot tail. The tail is serrated with the same dorsal fins that can be used as a long-range weapon. A whip from his tail could in a club-like fashion keep monsters at a distance so he can use his real weapon. Godzilla is radioactive and resides in the depths of the ocean where he can feed off of the radioactive elements in the Earth's core. He can then channel this energy to deliver a blast of nuclear fire which could exceed the temperature of the surface of the sun. It would clock in at around 500,000 degrees Celsius. Even the mightiest in the kaiju universe wouldn't survive a blast from this. And it's worth mentioning here that Godzilla is an amphibian of sorts. He can fight just as well underwater as he can on land. His gills make it so he doesn't need to resurface for air. This could give him an edge in a fight that drags on underwater. Kong is built like an ape, and that gives us some preliminary idea about how powerful he is. Anecdotally, apes are about 20 times as strong as humans, and when we extrapolate that strength to the height and weight of King Kong, we see that he is phenomenally stronger than all other monsters in terms of sheer strength. In height, he measures up to Godzilla at 432 feet, with arms that are 210 feet in length. With that reach, he can easily get up close and deliver some really heavy blows. A punch from King Kong would measure millions of newtons, and couple that with his speed and agility, and you have something that can float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. The main advantage this primate has over his reptilian counterpart is his intelligence. Kong shows feats of intelligence that are far from primitive. Unlike Godzilla, he is able to recall details from previous fights, plan and strategize, adapt to his environment, and even improvise if needed. On Skull Island, he was known to forge weapons and tools like making a club out of a tree. With this kind of forethought, he could use his environment to his advantage and make projectiles out of common objects like street lamps. This would mean he could evade Godzilla altogether and attack from afar. Also, let's not forget that being a primate, Kong can communicate with humans, even if it is just rudimentary. In previous adaptations of the character, we have seen that he has not only been able to communicate with humans on Skull Island, but work with them to take down other threats. If he can get humans to back him up, it is likely that with the support of humans and human technology, he wouldn't have to take on Godzilla alone. This is how he also gets his enchanted axe, which he uses in his fight against Godzilla. Godzilla might not have the mental caliber to take on Kong in a battle of wits, but he doesn't need to. If there is one thing that Zilla has over Kong, it's his track record. Godzilla has gone up against some of the biggest and worst kaiju forces in the monsterverse. Kong has nowhere near the experience in dealing with monsters with crazy powers. He has only fought against foes that don't have much besides their strength to go on. Compare that to Godzilla, who has taken down the likes of King Ghidorah. I know for certain that Kong couldn't hold his own against Ghidorah. So for him to go up against the monster that bested it would be nothing short of suicide. Godzilla has experience on his side to back him up. But where Kong comes up short in experience, he makes up for it with his upbringing. Being raised on Skull Island means that he would have to fight off other kaiju forces to declare himself king of the jungle. Considering that the kaiju are relentless in their efforts to prove that they are the ultimate monsters, the fact that Kong is the king of Skull Island means that he has beaten the best of the best that the island has to offer. The best example of the two titans coming to blows is in the 2021 Godzilla vs. King Kong. Though it is a long, drawn-out 2-hour movie, hardly 10 minutes are given to the actual fight between the two. But I suppose we will have to make do with that. There are two fights in particular we will be looking at. The first is on the aircraft carrier on the Tasman Sea, and the second is in downtown Hong Kong. So let's begin with the one on the sea. Now, this was in favor of Godzilla for several reasons. The first is that a good portion of the fight took to the sea, and while Kong can swim, he can't hold his breath indefinitely underwater, and at some point will have to come up for air. The second is that Kong had just broken free from his chains and was just getting his bearing. He didn't want to fight Godzilla at all, but he had to. Before the fight even began, we can see Kong exploiting his surroundings and hurling fighter jets at Godzilla to slow him down. When the two do come to blows, it is clear that in close quarters combat, it is Kong that has the advantage. But when the carrier is destroyed and the fight drags into the ocean, Kong is in a bit of a pickle. Godzilla exploited his need for respiration and dragged him to the depths of the ocean. It was only through human intervention that he was able to get out alive. Kong had home field advantage in Hong Kong, no pun intended, and this time he was prepared coming into the battle with his enchanted battle axe. When the two collide, Kong uses his quickness and agility to make short work of Zilla, even telling him to the ground. It's only when Godzilla opens his mouth that things go south for Kong. For the remainder of the fight, Kong is using his swiftness to evade the atomic breath. When they do come to blows again, Godzilla uses his tail and claws to subdue him. For all his quickness, Kong couldn't keep up with the King of Monsters. Sorry, Kong, but Godzilla wins this fight.